Have you ever wondered why Allah allowed you to go through pain that no one understood? Why some doors closed while others watched their lives move forward? What if every tear, every delay, every betrayal, and every lonely night was actually preparing you for a reward so extraordinary that the world has never witnessed anything like it? Most people spend their lives chasing power through money, status, and influence, but Allah gives His chosen servants a different kind of power, a power that cannot be bought, defeated, or taken away. It is the power of unwavering faith, unshakable peace, and a heart so connected to Allah that no hardship can break it. In today's powerful message, you will discover 6 life-changing lessons that may completely transform the way you see your struggles and your purpose. Stay until the end, because the final lesson reveals the greatest reward Allah can give a believer, and it may already be unfolding in your life without you even realizing it. The world teaches that power belongs to those with wealth, influence, and authority. But Allah teaches that the greatest power belongs to the believer who places complete trust in Him. When life becomes difficult and every door seems closed, many people panic and lose hope. But the one with sincere tawakkul remains firm, because they know that Allah's plan is always better than their own. Every hardship becomes a lesson, every delay carries hidden wisdom, and every test strengthens the heart instead of breaking it. The late-night prayers, the silent tears in sujud, and the patience shown when no one is watching all build a spiritual strength that cannot be bought or taken away. Sometimes Allah removes worldly supports so that you learn to depend only on Him, and that dependence creates courage that no fear can shake. Just as the prophets stood confidently before powerful kings because they trusted their Lord, every believer who relies upon Allah discovers a peace and resilience that the world cannot explain. The greatest power is not controlling people or circumstances. It is trusting Allah completely when everything seems impossible, knowing with certainty that He never abandons those who place their faith in Him. Many people see hardship as a sign that Allah has abandoned them, but often it is the very process through which He prepares His strongest servants. Every disappointment, every delay, every betrayal, and every painful moment you endured was shaping your heart with patience, wisdom, and stronger faith. While others may have seen your struggles as failure, Allah may have been purifying your soul and teaching you to rely on Him alone. The pain that made you cry also made you stronger, more humble, and more grateful, giving you a level of spiritual maturity that comfort could never provide. Just as gold is purified through fire, a believer's heart is refined through trials until it shines with sincerity and trust in Allah. One day you will realize that the obstacles you once questioned were actually preparing you for blessings greater than you ever imagined, because Allah never tests His servants without a purpose and never allows sincere patience to go unrewarded. One of the greatest blessings Allah can place in the heart of a believer is a peace that no hardship can destroy and no storm can shake. Many people expect you to break when life becomes difficult, to lose faith when your prayers seem delayed, or to give up when every door appears closed. But the one who truly trusts Allah discovers a calmness that the world cannot explain. While others become overwhelmed by fear and anxiety, your heart remains steady because you know that nothing happens except by Allah's permission and that every test carries wisdom, even if you cannot understand it today. People may wonder why you continue smiling after betrayal, why you remain patient after loss, or why you still make dua after facing disappointment after disappointment, but they cannot see the secret source of your strength. They cannot see the nights you spent asking Allah for guidance, the tears you shed in sujud, or the quiet moments when you surrendered your worries completely to your Creator. Those private acts of worship have built a faith that is stronger than fear and a heart that refuses to lose hope. Allah teaches that this life is only temporary and that every hardship is a means of purification for those who remain patient. So instead of allowing trials to make you bitter, they make you wiser, humbler, and closer to your Lord. The very people who expected your collapse become confused when they see your peace, because they thought suffering would destroy you. But Allah used that suffering to strengthen your soul and increase your reliance upon Him. Just as a mountain remains firm while storms rage around it, the believer whose heart is attached to Allah remains steady even when life becomes uncertain. This inner peace is one of the greatest rewards of sincere faith, because it cannot be bought with wealth, earned through status, or taken away by enemies. The greatest power is not escaping every trial, but remaining faithful through every trial, trusting that Allah's plan is always perfect, and that every moment of patience is bringing you closer to a reward greater than you can imagine. Many people spend their lives trying to defeat others, gain respect, or prove their superiority, but Allah teaches that the greatest battle is not against the world. It is against the nafs, the ego that constantly calls a person toward pride, anger, jealousy, greed, and sinful desires. The believer who learns to control these inner weaknesses possesses a strength that is far greater than physical power, because conquering the heart is harder than conquering kingdoms. Every time you choose patience over anger, forgiveness over revenge, humility over pride, and obedience to Allah over temporary pleasure, you are winning a victory that the angels witness, even if the world never notices. Allah does not elevate people because of their wealth or status. He elevates those who purify their hearts and remain sincere in their worship. This is beautifully shown in the life of Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, who was tested with temptation when no one else was watching, yet he chose obedience to Allah instead of following his desires. He accepted prison rather than disobeying his Lord, and because of his sincerity, Allah eventually raised him from a prisoner to one of the most respected leaders in the land. Likewise, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, endured years of insults, persecution, and cruelty from the people of Makkah, yet he never allowed anger or pride to control him. When Allah granted him victory and he entered Makkah with complete authority, he could have taken revenge on those who had harmed him, but instead he forgave them with mercy and compassion, showing the world that true strength lies in controlling the soul rather than overpowering people. These examples remind us that Allah's greatest servants first conquered themselves before they changed the world around them. Every struggle against arrogance, every act of sincerity, every hidden prayer, and every moment of self-control brings a believer closer to Allah and fills the heart with a power that cannot be seen but can be felt by everyone around them. The person who masters the ego cannot easily be shaken by praise or criticism, because their only goal is the pleasure of Allah. Real power is not having control over other people, it is having control over yourself for the sake of your Creator, and that is the kind of honor that Allah grants to those He loves. There are some people whose words inspire others, but there are also rare believers whose very presence reminds people of Allah without them saying much at all. They walk with humility, speak with kindness, forgive when others seek revenge, and remain patient when life becomes difficult, and because of that their character becomes a silent invitation toward faith. This is one of the greatest powers Allah can grant a servant, not the power of wealth or fame, but the power to soften hearts through sincerity and good character. In a world filled with anger, selfishness, and constant competition, a believer who reflects mercy becomes like a cool shade in the middle of a desert. People may not understand why they feel peaceful around such a person, but the answer is simple. A heart connected to Allah spreads a light that cannot be hidden. Perhaps Allah allowed you to experience pain so that you would understand the pain of others. Perhaps He allowed you to be rejected so that you would never reject those who feel forgotten. Perhaps He delayed your own happiness so that you could become a source of hope for someone else who is struggling. Every hardship you endured may have been preparing your heart to carry compassion instead of bitterness. This is how Allah transforms suffering into guidance. Instead of allowing trials to make you hard, He allows them to make you gentle, patient, and understanding. When people meet someone whose heart remembers Allah, they often leave feeling comforted without knowing exactly why. It is because sincerity has a beauty that cannot be manufactured. Money cannot buy it, status cannot create it, and popularity cannot imitate it. It is a gift that Allah places inside the hearts of those who remain faithful during hardship and grateful during ease. The lives of the prophets show this reality again and again. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was known among his people for his honesty and noble character even before prophethood, earning the title Al-Amin, the trustworthy. Even those who opposed his message admitted his integrity because his character reflected mercy and truth. When he entered Makkah after years of persecution, he did not seek revenge against those who had driven him from his home. Instead, he forgave them with kindness, showing that mercy is stronger than hatred and forgiveness is greater than pride. His example changed hearts more powerfully than force ever could. Likewise, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, called people with compassion and wisdom, healing by Allah's permission and reminding people to return to their Creator with sincerity and love. The prophets understood that changing hearts begins with character before words. That same opportunity exists for every believer today. Your smile may become the reason someone regains hope. Your honesty may inspire another person to leave dishonesty behind. Your patience during hardship may strengthen someone who is close to giving up. Your quiet acts of generosity may become the answer to another person's desperate dua. Never underestimate the impact of simple kindness done for the sake of Allah, because Allah can place immense barakah in even the smallest deed. Sometimes one gentle word changes a life forever. Sometimes one sincere act of forgiveness heals wounds that have existed for years. Sometimes one believer who remains firm upon faith inspires an entire family to return to Allah. The world celebrates loud success, but Allah often works through quiet hearts that seek no attention except His pleasure. The believer who remembers Allah in private becomes a source of remembrance for others in public. Every prayer, every act of charity, every moment of patience, every hidden tear shed in sujud, and every sacrifice made only for Allah polishes the heart until it reflects everyone around it. This is a power the world rarely notices, but heaven values greatly. One day, when you stand before Allah, you may discover that your greatest achievement was not the money you earned or the recognition you received, but the number of hearts that came closer to their Lord because they saw His mercy reflected in your character. That is a legacy that never dies, a light that continues shining long after a believer leaves this world, and one of the greatest rewards Allah can bestow upon those who sincerely seek His pleasure above all else. The greatest reward that Allah can give a believer is not endless wealth, worldwide fame, or worldly power that disappears with time, but a heart so full of faith that it becomes a source of guidance, hope, and mercy for everyone it touches. The world measures success by money, popularity, and influence, yet Allah measures greatness by sincerity, righteousness, and the ability to bring people closer to Him through good character and noble actions. There are believers whose names are unknown among people, but are honored among the angels because they spend their lives spreading kindness, encouraging goodness, helping the weak, comforting the broken, and reminding others of Allah through the way they live. Their greatest achievement is not what they own, but what they inspire inside the hearts of others. Every sincere smile, every act of charity, every word of encouragement, every patient response to hardship, and every hidden prayer made for another believer becomes a seed that Allah may cause to grow into something far greater than anyone can imagine. This is the power that the world cannot see, but heaven celebrates. Many people chase temporary success and forget that this life will end, but the believer who seeks Allah's pleasure leaves behind a legacy that continues even after death. Imagine standing before Allah on the Day of Judgment and discovering that someone began praying because they saw your patience, someone left a sin because of your advice, someone returned to Islam because of your kindness, or someone found hope because you reminded them that Allah's mercy is greater than their mistakes. These are rewards that continue multiplying long after a person leaves this world. Allah often prepares such believers through years of hidden struggle, unanswered prayers, loneliness, and disappointment, because hearts that have suffered with patience become capable of carrying mercy for others. The tears you cried in private may become the reason you understand another person's pain. The hardships you survived may become the words that save another believer from despair. The loneliness you endured may teach you to welcome those who feel forgotten. Nothing that happens to the believer is wasted when it is faced with faith and patience. Allah transforms pain into wisdom, sorrow into compassion, and weakness into strength until the believer becomes a lantern of guidance in a world filled with darkness. Look at Prophet Nuh, peace be upon him, who spent centuries calling his people with patience, despite constant rejection and mockery. He did not give up because success in the sight of Allah is measured by sincerity, not by numbers. Consider Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, who stood before the mighty Pharaoh with nothing but trust in Allah, proving that faith is greater than worldly power. Remember Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, whose years of betrayal and imprisonment became the very path through which Allah raised him to honor and enabled him to save countless lives. Reflect upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, whose mercy reached even those who harmed him, whose character transformed enemies into companions, and whose message continues guiding billions of hearts across generations. Their lives teach us that the greatest miracle is not worldly success, but becoming a means through which Allah guides His creation. Every believer has the opportunity to share in this legacy according to their ability. You do not need a large platform to change the world. A kind word to a stranger, sincere advice to a friend, respect for parents, honesty in business, generosity toward the poor, patience during hardship, and consistency in worship may inspire more people than you will ever know. Allah can place immense barakah in the smallest deed when it is done sincerely for His sake. Never think your efforts are insignificant, because Allah sees every hidden act of goodness. Sometimes a single conversation changes a life forever, and sometimes a quiet example influences generations. The believer who remains sincere becomes a living reminder that faith still exists in a world filled with distractions. Their presence gives hope to the hopeless, courage to the fearful, and peace to the anxious, because their hearts reflect the light of remembrance. Perhaps Allah delayed your own dreams because He first wanted to shape your soul into someone capable of guiding others. Perhaps your greatest blessing is not what you receive, but what Allah allows you to give. Perhaps your greatest power is not changing the entire world, but changing one heart that then changes many others. This is how Allah spreads goodness across generations. The believer becomes a light that continues shining even after death through knowledge shared, children raised upon righteousness, charity that continues benefiting people, and hearts inspired toward Allah because of one sincere life. That is the reward that never fades, the success that never ends, and the power that the world has never truly understood. A believer whose entire existence quietly guides others toward their Creator until the final breath, and whose legacy continues earning reward long after returning to Allah. Conclusion: if there is one message to take from these lessons, it is this: the greatest power Allah can give a believer is not the power to control the world, but the power to remain faithful when the world tries to break them. Wealth can disappear, fame can fade, and human strength can fail, but a heart filled with sincere faith, patience, and trust in Allah becomes stronger with every test it faces. Every hardship you have survived, every tear you have shed in secret, every dua whispered in the darkness of the night, and every moment you chose patience over despair has not gone unnoticed by your Lord. Allah is shaping you through every trial, purifying your heart, strengthening your character, and preparing rewards that are far greater than anything this temporary world can offer. Never think that your struggles are meaningless or that your prayers have been forgotten, because Allah's timing is always perfect and His wisdom reaches far beyond what our limited minds can understand. Continue trusting Him when the road becomes difficult. Continue worshipping Him when the answers seem delayed. And continue choosing righteousness even when nobody is watching. The believers who remain sincere through every season of life are the ones Allah raises in honor both in this world and in the hereafter. May Allah fill our hearts with unwavering tawakkul, grant us patience in every trial, forgive our shortcomings, guide us to what pleases Him, and make us among those whose lives become a source of mercy and guidance for others. Ameen.